Is it working now, Jeff? Or recording live? Okay. Good, good. Oh, it says we're live. Well, I see myself. Okay. All right. Well, did you guys get your homework done last week? Remember, I said we're going to talk about worship. Everybody was supposed to study up on worship. Huh? Huh? I want to. Huh? Okay, so let me ask you guys a question. Now, as we go into this study of worship, I don't remember what I titled this message. What is biblical worship? These things are going to be important because as we go through this stuff, I can tell you more people grow in these kind of settings than they do in church services for 40, 50 years. The church has become basically powerless. We got a messed up world out there, and the church is supposed to be lights, and among a whole lot of other things. So everything probably that you hear and understand may be put to the test and challenged, which I hope it is, because we got to have a new way of thinking. And most of us are very, very conditioned in our thinking, and I'm saying myself included. So when it comes to worship, we have an ideal of what worship is. And I'm going to throw it out to you guys first, and then we're going to look at it. But first, let me ask this question. Is this building holy? No, not really. Anybody? Okay. No, it's not. Okay. Tell me this. Why do we call this place where we're setting a sanctuary? Huh? Because we were told to? Yeah. Okay, so can we not do it out there in the parking lot? So, you see, in our minds, we have made this place holy, called it a sanctuary. Now, if this is a sanctuary, then if we're true to biblical text, then all of you guys are not allowed to be in here. Do you know why? Because only the priests are allowed to be in there. And is anybody in here of the tribe of Levi? So if this is a sanctuary biblically, then none of us can be in here. So either we are in violation or it's not a sanctuary. There is no middle ground here. But you and I grew up our whole lives calling these places a sanctuary, right? So we have somehow made this ground holier than the other ground, right? Now, you grow up into this, and guys, we've been doing this for a long, long time, especially since the Reformation, but way, way back. Now, it's like, okay, we come into this place, and then we're going to do worship. But let me say this. This building that we have is simply functional and not holy in that sense. In other words, it serves a function, right? In the early church, they met out in houses, homes, and now we meet out here, kind of in the same sort of context, as they did then. Remember, we talked about this last week. Do y'all remember the reason they met together? Anybody remember? To edify one another. And if you'll go back and read, I think it's 100 sometimes in the New Testament, Paul uses the word one another. So their gathering out wasn't vertical, it was this way, so that we could edify one another. So, and remember, Jesus said, tear down this temple. So that whole system he was going to tear down, raise up a new system in 3 days, which Paul says, you are the new temple. It's not a place anymore. Okay, so now, let's talk about worship. What's your guys' idea of worship? Don't everybody speak at once because it's hard to understand. You think it what?
I think it should be our life all day. Because I think worship is within us.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me rephrase the question. What is biblical worship? According to the Bible, what is biblical worship?
They consider prayer and fasting as worship back in Levitical times.
That's why I think it should be everything. 118, 188. Okay, what is it then? What is biblical worship?
Jesus said that all true worshipers will worship in spirit and in truth.
And in truth.
Uh-huh.
So if we should be true worshipers now. That was pre-cross, pre-resurrection. So I mean,
We know the truth is Jesus. So that's
yeah, that's the truth. But what I'm saying is, spirit and in truth, they ain't got nothing to do with the building.
Mm-hmm.
He came
that's why I said
as
daily.
an example, not only a sacrifice.
Everyone now is
When God told Moses to take his shoes off,
He was walking on holy ground.
well, that ground was holy ground. I think that action was a type of worship.
Mm-hmm. Okay. For one, biblically speaking, you need 4 elements to biblically worship. To biblically worship. The first element that you need is a sacrifice. I know you guys are looking at me, but we're talking biblical worship here. The second, if you have a sacrifice, what's the next thing you need? An altar. You just can't go out here and sacrifice your thing anywhere on a tree stump. You got to have an altar. Now, if I got to sacrifice and I got to have an altar, there's a third requirement. A priest. Okay, and if I got a sacrifice and I got an altar and I got a priest, there's a fourth requirement. I got to have a temple. Right? I got to have all of these elements when it comes to worship. Now, just kind of keep those in mind. A sacrifice, an altar, a priest, a temple. Now, again, we're in old kind of, well, I would say old, but it still happens today. Now, guys, the 4 elements of worship also took place in pagan temples. If you went to worship Baal, you brought a sacrifice to Baal. They had an altar, they put it on. They had a priest of Baal, and they had a temple of Baal. Just the same as the Jews had theirs. So imagine, so you can see there's a lot going on here with these items of worship. Now, let me ask you this. How is worship understood in the modern church? I'm not asking your opinion. I'm asking, how is worship understood in the modern church today?
I think it's
I mean, these churches right down the road's got a sign up, worship at 10.
And it really depends on what denomination they are too.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, so worship is, it's showing up, it's 3 songs, it's the preacher doing the preaching, and it's whatever constitute. Now, biblically, I just gave you the 4 elements. And so biblically, if you was going to worship in the Old Testament, you better bring your lamb. Or if you couldn't afford a lamb, you better have a turtle dove. Right? I mean, you had to have that, right? So we say, well, we're in the New Testament. So what sacrifice are you bringing? See, most people come to church to receive. They don't come to bring, do they? Most of the people come to church and all the song is centered about me and I need to receive. Now, is me receiving a sacrifice? It's not, is it, Joe? No. A sacrifice in itself is me giving something, right? And then, of course, we have made the front of the church the altar, which, guys, that's only about 200 years old. Charles Finney brought that craziness into the church. But it's 200 years old, so it might as well be a billion years old, right? We went through a picture of, that Christ is the altar. The sacrifice on the altar, the fire on the altar. And
But when we're in worship, it's like we don't need to go to an altar.
okay, well, I want you to keep that thought in mind when we are in worship. Okay? Because this is an idea here that is something that we come to do on Sunday. And sometimes what I'm saying is our language, the way we talk about things, the way we never question it, right? We never question it. Okay, we know what worship is. Boom, 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 we go do it. Pow, it happens. And we never really question it. We never really question how we gather. I never even thought when we came here, we do things a little different. What's different in churches? Style of music, right? Some do it without instruments. Some do contemporary. Some do redback hymnal, whatever. But it's the same thing, and then the preacher gives a monologue, and boom, boom, there we go. We never question it, right? We just kind of grow up in it. That's the setting. And we call that worship, and then we don't really... Now, let me ask you a question again. When did Paul gather out to worship? The Apostle Paul, when did he gather out to worship? Anybody? Huh? Well, you would have thought Paul would have gathered out and had a worship service. Right? Paul, a Hebrew of Hebrews, he never did. I wonder why that is. He was an evangelist. All right, what about Peter? James? All right, let me ask you this question. How many times is the word sermon in your Bible? Yeah. Do you realize the word sermon is not even in the Bible? See, we added all of these things. I'm gonna tell you guys this, but this is keep in mind worship is our topic today, but where did our Bible come from? Anybody know the history of it? Huh? The whole, this what we call the Bible, not really the New Testament, but the Hebrew Scriptures, where did they come from?
Scroll that's written mostly by Moses. And then
Doesn't matter.
Well, King James declares that's what they wanted us to have right there.
Okay. If you go back, even in the scriptures, you'll find out there were times when they lost everything. All their scrolls are gone. Just poof, they're gone. Burn up, taken, gone. So then all the things that Moses had written and these other prophets, they're gone. Now, if you guys know some history here, what happened in Jeremiah? Jeremiah, the people are taken away into Babylon, right? Not all the people are taken away to Babylon. Some of the people fled to Egypt. I know this, I'm giving you kind of history lessons. Do you know what language they were speaking down in Egypt? Sounds kind of crazy here, I know. No. Greek. Man, oh yeah, because Alexander the Great, and we got a whole lot of things going on here. So they're speaking Greek. So in Egypt, we get because Hebrews went down there, right? They've lost everything. They can't go to Walmart and buy a Bible, so they go down to Egypt. Well, they got to have them a Bible, so they start writing, trying to recreate their Bible. They're writing in Greek. Do you know what we call that? The Septuagint. The Septuagint. You guys ever heard of the Septuagint? Okay, Joe's heard of the Septuagint. It's the Greek Bible. Okay, so we don't go by the Greek Bible. Now, where did I just tell you where these other Jews was? They're in Babylon. Do you think they had the scrolls? No. So our version of the Bible was written in Babylonian captivity. Now there was a third version because some of the Jews stayed back and many of them were, and there's called a Samaritan version. You and I in our modern Bible is a Babylonian or Orient. Now, see, I'm giving you some stuff right here, right? So it's kind of scratching your mind a little bit because we know Babylon means confusion. So our Bible that we have has come out of Babylonian. It's Babylonian Orient. So you can understand it's going to have that kind of cultural twist to it, is it not? You can't help it. So the Septuagint is going to have the Egyptian twist to it, and the Septuagint is longer than the Babylonian version. You guys are learning something. Then you have the Samaritan version, which a whole bunch of people in the Middle East use that version. Now see, all you thought was King James. King James, you understand, these are just translations and translations and translations that come out of that. Now, I don't know, you think, well, what does all of this have to do with worship? Well, all of these things play into their understanding how things are passed down, how we do stuff, and without even thinking about it. Okay, boom. That's where we go. Now you said the word worship was mentioned how many times? 188. What if I told you that is not true? Now, Kathy's thinking, well, my God, I just looked it up. Yeah. No, now let me ask you this. Okay. And I understand how we look the text up. But how many different Greek words are there for the word worship? No idea. There's 5. 5 different Greek words translated as worship. Now I know you're probably thinking, this is just boring stuff. Now remember, you got your Septuagint over here. It's the Greek, so the Septuagint would take these same words and translate them what we get in our modern concept of worship. So here's a question for you. I'm going to start bringing my my laptop so I can look at these things a little bit faster. But when is the first time worship is used in the Bible? Abraham. Okay. Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you. Genesis 22. 22 chapters into the Bible for the words worship is remember. So what is that Greek word there? Or the Hebrew word? What does it mean? Anybody know what it means? I mean, I'm going to pull up the dictionary here and look at the word worship in the Hebrew dictionary here and look up and see what it means. Any of you here want to say that worship means that Abraham and Isaac are going to a mountain and they're going to sing praise hymns and have a Bible study and shout praises to God? That's the first time worship's used in the Bible. You're all shaking your head because you don't think this is what's going to happen to you. They're going to make a sacrifice, and lo and behold, Isaac is the bait. Okay. So what do you think this word means here? It really doesn't. I mean, it really doesn't. Now, he just said they are going up there to worship. Now, here is what the word means. Okay, are you ready for this? It means to prostrate yourself. What does that mean? That means put your face on the ground. Right? So, Abraham and Isaac are going up to the mountain. We translate the word worship. In our understanding of worship, let me ask you, did they complete the worship? I mean, I'm asking you, guys, I want to challenge you into the story. It's Genesis 22. Did they worship? Okay, well, let me ask you this. What did he say they were going to do? We are going to the mountain, and we're going to bow our faces to the ground before God and come again. He didn't say anything about sacrifice, praise, singing songs. The word means we are going on the mountain. We are going to bow our face before God and come back. That's what it means. Doesn't mean all of this other stuff. So my question is, did Abraham go worship? You say he did. Did he go up there and bow his face to God? I mean, the Bible never says. I mean, honestly, and see, these are challenging things, what I want you to see, because I want you to say, did he? Yes. Did he? No. Okay, we got some tension here. What is going on here? Because if we don't...
Sacrifice has to have something to do with it. Because
he didn't even say that.
No, didn't say it. But he was going, he and the lad, and even the son said, well, where are we going to get the sacrifice? And he said, Lord will provide.
Now remember, here's the setting. Him and Isaac are right here. He turns to his young men that are with him. And he says, Neil, me and my boys going on the mountain to worship. And we're going to come back. Okay. How would they have understood that? How would Neil have understood that at this time? He would have understood you and your boys going up there on the mountain. You're going to put your face in the dirt before your God and come back. That's how they would have understood that. Right? That's how they would have understood that. Okay? So, when I asked the question, did Abraham go up there to worship? And see, this is what I love about the scriptures, because all of these things ought to be challenging all of us to rethink everything. And I got a guy that was older than me that says this, and he's pretty scholarly, and his name is Paul. And he talks about renewing your mind and everything. Okay, so I say, now this is me, and if you say he did worship, that's fine. You say he didn't worship, that's fine. I'm saying Abraham, in the biblical text of the word, did not put his face into the dirt on the mountain. I find it not in the scriptures. Okay? Now, here's my challenge to you. Now, I just said that is the first time worship is used in the Bible. That's wrong. It's the first time worship is used in the Bible. When is the first time worship is used in the Bible? This word here, this word shakal, which means put your face in the ground. When is the first time that's used? Anybody got any idea? Okay. I want you to understand here. See, you can read your Bible, and it says worship, but there's 5 Greek words for worship, but they don't all mean the same thing, and there's a whole bunch of Hebrew words. So if you just look the word worship up, you're missing a whole bunch. Okay. Somebody give me Genesis 18, verses 1 and 2. Somebody read that for me. Genesis 18, verses 1 and 2. Because this is the first time that this word, shakal, is going to be used in the Bible.
Now, this is in the Home Standard, but it says in Genesis 18, verse 1, Then the Lord appeared to Abraham at the oaks of Ir, while he was sitting in the entrance of his tent during the heat of the day.
Now hang on. Is that all of verse 1? Okay, all of verse 1, Abraham is in his tent. He's got his tent over by the oak trees. He's sitting there in his tent. He's chilling out. He's smoking a pipe. He's got his feet kicked back. He's just hanging out. Abraham. This is verse 1, right? Everybody with me? Got the picture in your mind? Abraham's kicked back, smoking a pipe. Looks like Gandalf. Every time I think of Abraham, I think of Gandalf. Anybody know who Gandalf is? Yeah, I love Gandalf. All right, I started to name Zach Frodo. Yeah. Bilbo. Yeah. Lord of the Rings? We got to get Kathy up to speed here. It's Tracy's favorite. Tracy's favorite. Yeah. Now, all right. So you got Gandalf chilling out right here. Okay, verse 2.
He looked up, and he saw 3 men standing near him. When he saw them, he ran from the entrance of the tent to meet them and bowed to the ground.
Now, where's the word worship in that sentence? So Abraham, Gandalf is chilling out with his pipe. He looks up, sees 3 guys. Now, automatically he knows that these 3 men are of greater stature than him. Somehow it's just kind of implied in the text. So what do? What's the proper? So this is a worship. So what does Abraham do? Does he run up and shake their hand, high five, good to see you, chest bump? Right? Jump up in the air and hook arms? He goes and prostrates himself before these 3 men. Now, in the text in Genesis 22, verse 5, Gandalf, Abraham says, I and the lad are going there to worship. Same word. Right here he says that he bows his face into the dirt before the people, or before the three people. So you see, now this is just the first 2 times that the word worship is used in the Bible. Now, did anybody come in here today, Abraham being the father of our faith, and worship? You guys didn't, did I? I didn't see nobody come in, put your face in the floor up here unless you fell. Yeah. Okay. So right out of the gate, worship means to put your face in the dirt before a God, or Abraham before these 3 men. Right? Yeah. So it had nothing to do with church service. It had nothing to do with sermon preaching, singing, none of that stuff. It didn't. So can you get the idea of what worship is? Okay. Now, there's 5 different Greek words for the word worship in Scripture. I will not get these pronounced right. But the first one is proskuneo. Guess what it means? It means to bow down. Now, in the Septuagint, when they're translating worship, they're translating this word down here in Egypt, speaking Greek, proskuneo, which you can hear where we get our English word right out of that, right? Proskuneo, prostrate yourself before the people or before the God or whatever you have to do. Proskuneo. Proskuneo. Now, when you're looking up all these words, sometimes they're not going to say the word worship. It's going to say proskuneo. So we could go read Genesis 22:5, and we could say, just the same as Neil read in Genesis 18, he could say, I and the lad are going yonder to proskuneo and come again. Right? Same exact word. We're going there to proskuneo, and we come back. Just as Abraham saw the 3 men, and he proskuneoed, and he bowed down. Okay? Then there's another word called latrio. And we're going to look at these words a little bit closer here. Latrio. And that's a word that means minister. Laergeto is another word. Sebomai, and all of these are in there. I mean, you can read them. And trescalio. All of these different words. Now, see, when you're just looking up the word worship, well, I mean, so people could ask you, okay, how do you guys worship at church? Well, I think the proper response would be, which kind of worship are you talking about? Latreo, proskuneo, laergeto. I mean, right? I mean, all of that's in your Bible here. You're looking at me. Kathy's looking at me like I got 2 heads. Because we've translated 5 words as one. I told you, we English people are lazy people. We just are.
If somebody asked me that, though, I would say, in all ways, it's how we worship God. I would have to.
Okay, now remember, so what you're telling people who properly understand that we come into this church and we all get up front and we put our face in the front of the church.
It doesn't mean all their ways.
Right? I mean proskuneo, because that's what proskuneo means.
No, all our ways. However we do, because every church out there is different.
Uh-huh.
Everyone out there.
Well, you say that, but they're basically the same. They kind of got their ideas. Worship comes at 10. Hey, I mean, it's on their sign. Sunday school at 10, worship at 11.
If they were all the same, we'd always be there. We'd all be somewhere.
Huh?
If they were all the same, we'd be somewhere.
Well,
One is individual, and we can worship in our own way. I believe that. I believe exactly what you're saying. I mean, I'm listening to the word.
uh-huh.
But there's no way I'm even going to remember one of them. One of them sounds like a bad word, number one.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna remember all that. But I believe that everybody in here worships day, every day, daily, but in their own way. This is good, so, you know, the words.
Well, and that you bring up a good question because, and I would challenge that, because how many people have told you, well, I don't go to church, I can worship God any way I want to. I can worship God in the mountains. I can worship God here or there, right? So you've heard that. And is it true or is it not true?
When you go out in the woods, do you worship?
No,
You don't.
no. Unless I fall. Because worship means to put your face into the dirt. And I don't. I can't see the deer if my face is in the dirt. I'm up in a tree.
But when you're just walking around, looking at nature, I don't mean you lay in the leaves and go, oh, thank you, Lord. 'Cause I've seen some of your
Yeah.
videos.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me that there's no way you can tell me that's not a form of worship. You're actually talking about Christ himself,
Uh-huh.
what he's created.
Uh-huh.
God
Well,
created.
I think we should look at, because we've only looked at one word, so we got 4 more words here to look at. And biblically speaking, and this is kind of my argument, biblically speaking, so far, looking at word 1, proskuneo, do we worship? Joe says no. I mean, and if we just look at 1 and with the definition of putting our face in the dirt, do we worship?
I think there's a lot of people in other churches right now that are on their faces.
They may be before some front of the church. So, okay. So we would have to say we don't worship. So we can't put on the sign worship at 11. So that means at 11 o'clock, Jeff, get the music right, and we're all going to come up front and put our face in the ground and worship at 11. And that almost sounds Old Testament kind of, because when I blow the trumpet, then you'll know what to do, right? If I blow it this way, then you'll know to do this. If I blow it this way, you'll know to gather the troops. If I...
Most of them do that in prayer, like at the end of churches,
Mhm.
what they call worship service.
I think it goes, yeah, this is an illustration, I think. Said, I beseech you, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your body
Mhm.
a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service.
Mhm.
I think that's
Again, and hopefully today you'll be able to see that verse in a whole different light. A whole different light. Okay, so first, the word proskuneo means to prostrate yourself before God, which we don't do. Okay? Go ahead, Joe.
Well, there's more than one way to worship. That's all I want.
That's what we were saying.
That's not the only way to worship, is to be prostrate.
Well, I'm looking at the 5 words, because most of the time this is what we do. We kind of ad-lib. You know, like people say, well, the reason I don't assemble myself together with the church is the reason I don't go to church services, which one, is this a church service? I say no. They didn't have church services. There's no service. They assembled. They gathered out together to edify one another. But again, like I said last week, we have brought back in temple worship, so to speak. And then we have ad-libbed our little things along the way.
Before we get too far, how do we trust the substance if that is just some kind of Greek translation from somebody?
Well, you can look it up. Okay, so, okay, let me.
What would any kind of words in there have anything to do with any? Could be
Mhm.
Yeah,
somebody made up.
that's kind of like the proskuneo. Am I saying that right? I probably.
Proskunea.
Yeah, okay. I won't remember that word.
Mm-hmm.
But if I ever see a word like that, I look up the Greek and the Hebrew both.
Okay.
Where's the
Meaning
Hebrew come
of a
from?
word.
Where's the Hebrew?
Well, that's what I'm saying. When they went back down in Egypt, the Hebrew people left Jerusalem because they're under Babylonian captivity. It's coming. They flee. They go into Egypt. So when they go down there, they don't have the Bible, but they're Greek speaking, so they start just, I mean, how do we get Genesis? Genesis was written 2,000 years after Adam and Eve. It was just stories told around a campfire.
Did you just say that the Hebrew were Greek?
I'm saying they went down in Egypt and they were speaking Greek. Yeah. So you see, guys, it's not as simple as what you think. Like, okay, you just got a guy and he's just following Jeremiah around and he's writing down stuff. And then I got a guy following Amos down and he's writing down stuff. And then, okay, we say, oh, here you go, Jeff, here's your Bible. It just doesn't work that way.
You could do that on any number of them, though, because how many versions of the Bible do we have? How many?
And what I'm saying is when you come to the Bible and you're looking up a word, okay, and I'm in the New Testament here, okay, so I look up this Greek word, worship. I pull it in. The first time it's used is in Matthew. The Magi come, and the Magi are looking for Jesus. Why? To worship Jesus. Now, what word are they going to use? Proskuneo. Why? Because he's a king. What do you do before a king? So they want to come, bow down before the king, and also they're going to bring sacrifice, gold and myrrh. And so they want to come, prostrate themselves before the king. So it's proskuneo, right? Because that was how they worshiped. Okay? So if I'm just looking up the word there, okay, the word worship, proskuneo, here we go. So I'm just, the number is G4352. Okay? And I know that's kind of irrelevant. Okay. G4352. But here's another one. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrine the commandments of men. I got another word here. I got a different Greek word. This one is sabomaya. I told you there was 5 different Greek words in there. So sabomaya does not mean to prostrate yourself before God. And here Jesus is saying they are worshiping. We've translated this word sabomaya as worship. So if you're just reading the Bible and you think worship means whatever you think it means, and then Jesus, when you hear him talk, he doesn't use the word because they're speaking in Aramaic, they're speaking Greek at the time. He doesn't say proskuneo, he says sabomaya. So you tell me why the translator translated both of them as worship.
Different languages?
No, they're both Greek words.
Don't know. Different structure, different focus.
So they have different ideas with them. Like love, in the Greek they have 5 or 6 different words for love. How many words do we have for love? We got one.
It depends on the inflection you use on how you mean it.
Yeah. So you understand here. So this word worship, so again, you know what we do, and this word here means to adore. Okay? Now we'll go into, but it means to adore. Now, what does it mean to adore? I mean, Tracy adores me.
What's that mean?
Yes, you do. Yeah, out the door. Okay. So, but you understand, does that give you a different mind? Now on our church sign, Sunday school at 10, adoring at 11. We don't use that word, do we? Whole different context, isn't it? We could tell our grandkids, oh, I adore you. And it has this more intimate kind of feeling about it, right? I adore you. I adore Reese cups, whatever. I adore. It means I've got a fond affection. Now, let's look at the word here. But in vain they do adore me. But in vain they do worship me. Right? He's saying, they don't adore me. They don't adore me. They just giving me lip service. They don't even like me. They don't even want to be around me. In vain, emptiness. I mean, I see through these people. Right? So sabomai, it's a different Greek word, right? And it has nothing to do with prostration in that sense, but we translate it as worship. So there's two Greek words, two kind of, in my mind, two kind of completely different ideas. Now, we may use that, adore, hey, maybe somebody adores somebody else. Or, you know, boy, you really worship Taylor Swift. You know? But, you know, I mean, yeah, in that kind of sense here. So, let's keep on looking. That one was a different word. Okay? Here's another one. Let's see what this one is. Doxa. I know, this is crazy. This is not even what I had picked. But when thou art bidden, go and sit down in the lowest room, that when he that bade thee cometh, this is Luke 14:10. Friend, go up higher, then shalt thou have worship in the presence of them that sit at meat with thee. So in other words, you go into the place, you take the lower seat, and then the guy comes and says, Tim, come up here, sit in the higher seat. And the word is doxa, which is translated as the word glory. But in your King James, it's the word worship. Yeah, I mean, you with me here? So we've just looked at three different words. Okay, let me keep going here. Now, when Jesus comes to the woman at the well, we'll go back and talk about this just a little bit. When he's talking to the woman at the well, worshiping this mountain or worshiping Jerusalem, wonder what word they're using there. Proskuneo. Now, understand here, the reason I'm saying this is I want you to understand what biblical worship is. Biblical worship is going and falling on your face before your God with a sacrifice. Okay? That's biblical worship. Now I can tell that you guys are not buying it here. You guys would think I'm making this up. I'm giving you Bible verses.
Not really. I'm still stuck because I think somebody else might have made it up. So I'm stuck.
Well, they didn't make it up. What I'm saying is we have gotten off track. That's the problem. It's not, hey, we're right and the Bible's wrong. The Bible was right. The Bible worship is going to the temple, falling on your face with a sacrifice. That's Bible worship.
Every church I've been to, when a person goes to the front and falls on their face, it's not worship, it's begging God to give them something. You come pray for me, I need heal,
Uh-huh.
job.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with that. What I'm saying is, biblically, from the biblical perspective, go in a time ship and go back to Jesus' day and talk about worship. This is what worship was. Okay?
We tend to confuse reverence and service with worship. But Jesus came and he showed us an example. And what he did, washed feet. He healed people. He provided it. He was a servant. He gave comfort. We like going through the woods. You talk about people going through the woods, whatever. I end up do worship because I fall a whole lot when I'm in the woods. But most of the time, I fall a whole lot when I'm walking on the carpet. But anyway, that's a whole different thing. I guess it means worship continually. But the thing is a lot of it is reverence. When we go before the Lord, we're given in prayer and reverence. It's we include that in the term worship as a broad scale, but it's like going for the front and in prayer. People bow down to the altar. Yeah, a lot of times it's going because they're wanting instead of a sacrifice that they have a need, or they're bartering with God for something they need and want. Now we consider that worship. It's really, it's prayer, but like I said, it's seeking the movement of the Lord.
Yeah. I don't think that they even think that they are asking. They don't think about it as being worship at that time. I think when you see a lot of people prostrate with their face, they're desperate people.
Well, no, see, you got it backwards. You got it, and this is where the church has come. Okay, let's just say Tim is Jesus. How did the woman with the alabaster box come to worship Jesus? Did she say, "Oh my God, I'm broken and I need this and I need that and I need you to save me"? No, she come to worship, but how did she worship? She brought her gift. She brought her best. So worship is not me going to the front of the church and saying, "God help me." That's not worship. That's begging. I'm sinking. Worship is, I am bringing my best. And here's my best sacrifice. And here's my best. And I'm giving it. You're greater than me. You understand here?
Because what she was saying was that's the way most people are, though. They are begging. Because they don't.
That's not worship.
I know, but they don't know the difference.
But that, right,
They're just
because
seeking
I've
help.
heard them say, don't come up here to these altars unless we
Exactly.
worship.
You understand what I'm talking about now. We've got the whole thing wrong. Yes, there is begging God for salvation. I mean, anybody who has ever come into God's presence knows, oh my God, I don't have, yeah. Biblically speaking, we have gotten the whole ideal of worship wrong. If you're going to worship, you better bring your best. You better not come empty-handed. I mean, honestly. So now let's go back to Abraham. Did he bring his best? He brought his son, didn't he? Okay, so now I want to come into the picture a little bit. So if we're going to go worship, he's going to go bow down, and he's going to bring his best.
Okay, so how do we do that now?
Oh, that's good. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. We always want to jump ahead real fast. Okay? So I hope you're understanding the biblical principle here. Churches has got it wrong. All of us has had it wrong. We didn't know what it meant. Okay? Proskuneo. And all of these words here, and even in this word adore and latrero, it means to minister. So it means if I'm going to God, I'm going to minister to God, I'm going to bring God something. You don't go into the king without something. I mean, do you? You don't just go into the king and say, I mean, this is the way we do it in the Western culture. Oh, king, no, you better come in there. I only got one. Remember David and Nathaniel? And he says, hey, man, you took this guy's only lamb. And David says, whoever did that, let him die. And then thou art the man. You remember? You remember? Okay. So, yeah. So, the idea here of worship, and there was 3 settings here. 1, to bow before a superior. Now, understand, guys, and I'll have to go look this up. We are the only culture who greets with a handshake. Now, what does a handshake say? It says 10 men use equal. Right? I mean, that's what it says. I look Tim in the eye, Tim looks me in the eye, and we shake hands. We're equal. I got to ask you a question. Is that biblical? Yeah, that's one way. And okay, but think of the mindset. I'm going to Neil, and Neil and I, and then we greet this way, guys. This is just a common way that we greet. And we look at each other and we shake hands, and that's the common American way to greet. And what that says is, Neil, I'm equal with you, right? My question is that biblical?
Not if we prefer one another, then we bow before one another. Maybe,
Yeah. Abraham sees three guys. And what does he do? He just goes and bows before these guys. Huh? Men. But you understand here, you understand my thing is that we do everything culturally, and none of it is really biblical, because Paul would say to prefer others before you, to treat others better than you. So to treat others better than me, all the other cultures would do it. They would come up and they would bow and they would, give honor to the other person. We don't do that. I'm equal to you. Right? This is just our cultural thing, but that's what the language says. The language says, I don't prefer you. I'm not putting you over me. I'm not trying to stand above you. We're on equal footing here. That's not biblical. Guys read the New Testament. You guys are looking at me like I'm telling you something that's crazy. This is not New Testament teaching. I just read to you the verse that when you go in, take the low seat. Now, why is that? There's someone greater than you. And he's always telling us, what does be humble mean? Be humble means consider them better than you. Right?
Because you'd be shamed if you took the high seat and was asked.
Yeah. So even our greetings are not biblical. I'm just telling you guys, and I know I'm just telling you, our greetings are not even biblical. This is how far away that we are. And I know you're thinking, well, these things don't matter, but when it comes part of your culture, that just the way that we greet each other, I'm not treating Teddy better than me. I'm saying, by God, I'm as good as you are. You see the difference in the attitude, right? Now, this is not biblical. This is not humility. Okay, again, because we changed the word worship, and all of this other stuff. So.
Humility takes a long time to get there for a lot of people because they've been since this little kind of beaten down. So it takes but it takes a while to get there. I'm telling you, there's millions of people beaten down.
Uh-huh.
And it's hard.
Uh-huh.
To be
And our whole culture, the whole ideal of everything. So let's get back on this worship here. So you understand this word proskuneo over at shakal in the Hebrew. And there are different Hebrew words too. I can't go through all of these with you, but there's a bunch. Means to bow down, face to the ground. And the whole ideal of worship is you better bring your best. You better bring your best. Worship is not come up to the front, oh God, I'm broken, I'm nothing. You're a beggar, you're not a worshiper. There's a difference. You understand? Okay, somebody give me 2 Kings chapter 5 and verse 18. 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 18.
Geneva Bible says, in this thing the Lord pardoned thy servant, that when my master goeth unto the house of Rimmon to worship there, and he leaneth on my hand, and I bow myself in the house of Rimmon.
Okay. Now what's going on here? The story is the story of Naaman. Anybody remember Naaman? Naaman the leper. Okay? Remember Naaman and his attitude when he's told to go wash in the river Jordan? I ain't washing in an old dirty river. There's way better rivers. But he goes and washes. You know, his servant finally tells him, man, just do it. And he dips 7 times and he comes up and his flesh is clean, is white. He's cured. He has been exodused from his disease. But he's in a problem. He's got to go back. Now he is the right-hand man of the king. And all worship. Now remember what that verse says. He says, pardon thy servant, because when I go in, the king leans on me, and we're going to go in and what? Bow down. Was that the word? Bow down. Same word, proskuneo. Same word Abraham used. So in other words, the pagans did it too. So they would go in before their God. Now he was an older man, so when he bowed down, he couldn't get up, and he had to have help. So Raymond would go in, and or Nathan would go in as they went to their god Ramon, went into the temple to do their worship. And then Naaman says, please forgive me, I'm going to have to do this. And of course he says, go in peace. Remember, he wants to take back a wagon load of dirt from Jerusalem to go back there. So again, we get a picture of worship. Now, in the pagans, what are they doing? They're going in. They're going to prostrate themselves before their God. You see this picture over and over and over again. Okay. Genesis 42 and 6. Somebody give me that one. Genesis chapter 42 and verse 6.
Joseph was the governor over the land, and it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed them down themselves before him with their faces to the earth.
Same word worship. Same word proskuneo. So what happens? His brothers come in. Joseph is promoted to second in charge. And when his brothers realize it, what is their position? Yeah, they're on their face. You see this picture over and over and over. So now I'm just going to say for the churches that say worship at 11, do you think they're doing this? Probably not. Okay. The Persians, do you know what country is modern day Persia? Iran. I'm sorry, Iran. Do you know what modern day Babylon is? Iraq. Okay. The Persians. Now remember, this Bible comes from this culture. In the Persian culture, if you was equal, then they would kiss each other on the mouth. This is how they greeted. We don't do that. We handshake. Again, if you're equal. Now, if I was a little less than you, then the kiss would be on the cheek. You can see this stuff in mafias and, they got all this stuff. So in other words, there's a certain rank. An order. Now let me ask you this, and I'm going to give you the third one. Is there any rank in the body of Christ? Okay. No rank. You're saying no rank. No rank. Okay. The third way that they would greet, if there was a large difference in rank, was you would bow down. So if we were equal, there was a kiss on the mouth. If I'm less, then there's a kiss on the cheek. If I'm way less, there's bowing down. Now this is in a greeting.
I don't find that less. Bowing down to me. Somebody bows to you. I don't know. I would probably find it worse to have to kiss somebody.
Well, see, God, what I'm saying is our society, I'm talking our society, our whole society, we can't even begin to understand the concepts. If we can't even understand the concepts, how are you going to understand the Bible? This was their whole culture, right? I mean, this is how they did business. And, I mean, you could see Paul would write, greet the brethren with a holy slap upside the head. I mean, you understand what I'm saying now? Why would understanding what I just told you, greet the brethren with a holy kiss. So in other words, somebody give me Philippians chapter 2, verse 3. And our next verse is going to be Ezekiel 46.
Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem others better than themselves.
Wow. Let each esteem others better than themselves. In other words, I fell out half my Bible. That's why I have a new Bible. Better than themselves. Rank. Okay. First Corinthians chapter 15, verse 23. Anybody got that? 1 Corinthians 15, 23. Read that first statement again.
But each in his own order.
Okay, right there. Order. What do you think that word order means? Rank? I mean, Paul uses this language. Now, Jesus would say there is rank in the kingdom, but it's just the opposite of the Gentiles. The Gentiles set up here, and all you come to worship, but in the kingdom, you're down here, and you are servant of all. You with me here? So it's just upside down. Jesus came as king, and he poured water in a basin, but yet he was Lord of all. You understand? Just the opposite. So there is rank, because Jesus would say concerning John the Baptist, how great a prophet was John the Baptist? None greater. But who in the kingdom is better than him? The least. So if there's a least, then there has to be an order. You understand in here? Now again, we're talking about worship. Okay, somebody give me Ezekiel chapter 46, verse 2 and 3.
And the prince shall enter by the way of the porch of that gate without, and shall stand by the post of the gate, and the priest shall prepare his burnt shall worship at the threshold of the gate. Then he shall go forth, but the gate shall not be shut until the evening. That was 2. You said 3 and 4.
No, just 2 and 3.
Likewise, the people of the land shall worship at the door of this gate before the Lord in the Sabbaths and in the new moons.
Okay. What does this mean? What does this mean? Anybody? We're talking about worship. Now, what does worship mean? Bow down and bring a sacrifice. So what's going on in Ezekiel? In Ezekiel, everybody is coming to the temple. Why are they coming to the temple? They were told to. So if you got you got 400,000 people coming to the temple to worship, how long is the line going to be? It's going to be a pretty long line. So you're going to come in, we're going to hurry this thing up. You're going to bring your sacrifice. You're going to give your sacrifice to the priest. You get down on your face, boom. Don't go out the same way because the long line is right there. You go out that gate. So in other words, Dad, you come in. I got your sacrifice. Bow, you did your thing. Now you go out this way. Okay, Tim, you come in, give me your thing. You bow, boom. You did your worship. You see what's going on here? Bring your gift, boom, you brought it to the priest. I'm going to offer this to God. You bow down, boom, go. You guys are looking at me like I'm crazy again.
No, I'm picturing this, somebody, a priest sitting there and waiting on 400,000 people to go through. He's going to get pretty tired and sleepy.
Well, he just said they're going to do it till the end of the day, right?
How do you get 400,000?
That's why they had 12 gates, and that's why they had a lot of priests, and a lot of these things are going on here. So, but again, worship, they wasn't saying going to church and having songs and going up to the front. You're bringing your gift, you're giving your gift to the priest, you're bowing down on your face, boom, and you're out of there. So worship, again, has this idea all through Scripture of bowing down. 2 Kings 19:37. Who's got that one? 2 Kings chapter 19, verse 37.
And it came to pass as he was worshiping in the house of, I'm going to butcher this, Rosh, his God, and that I can't pronounce it. And Shazir, his son, smote him with the sword, and they escaped into the land of Armenia, and it's good hard. His son reigned in his stead.
Okay. The verse before that, you got Sennacherib. Anybody know who Sennacherib is? King of Assyria. Give me the Sennacherib. Give me the last 5 letters of how to spell his name. Cherub. Imagine that. Imagine that. Okay, here's Sennacherib. Sennacherib goes into the temple to worship his God, and he gets assassinated. They stab him in the back, and his son reigns in his stead. Now, how could this great king be assassinated? He's worshiping. He's got his face in the dirt. Great time to assassinate somebody, isn't it? I'm very vulnerable. I got my face in the dirt. I'm laying in the ground. Boom, they come up behind him. Stab him in the back. I'm wanting you to get this idea, guys, of biblical worship. Over and over and over again, we're seeing the face in the ground, a sacrifice being brought, the best being brought, which matches nothing of what we see in the church today.
Jim, can I ask a question? But isn't most of this old covenant worship though? Isn't it a difference? I mean, we're not going to come in today and worship in the very same way. And this, I feel like this was physical, more the spiritual. We don't
Yeah. No, well, just bear with me a little bit, okay? Just bear with me a little bit, okay? Because we got to get this picture in our head of worship. Again, worship wasn't coming up there begging God. Worship was bringing your best, and it had this whole idea with it. So if we're going to come into New Testament, New Covenant, we're not going to lose the idea. We're not going to lose this idea, okay? Okay, so 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verses 24 and 25. Who's got that? 1 Corinthians 14, verse 24 and 25. Now, this is Paul in a New Testament setting, right? He's writing in Corinthians. He's writing to this church. Go ahead.
But if all are prophesying and some unbeliever or uninformed person comes in, he is convicted by all and judged by all. The secrets of his heart will be revealed, and as a result, he will fall face down and worship God, proclaiming God is really in his heart.
Okay. Now, let's go back and read the first verse there again.
But if all are prophesying,
Okay, so again, we're in a setting, and everybody's prophesying. Okay? Keep going.
and some unbeliever or uninformed person
Okay, so now, here we are in our setting, and everybody's going to town, right? All prophesying. Here comes who? An unbeliever or an uninformed person comes in. And he comes in and he's looking around. You with me? Keep going, Bab.
he is convicted by all and is judged by all.
Okay, he's convicted by all and he's judged by all. Keep going.
The secrets of his heart will be revealed.
Okay, so he comes in, he sees everybody prophesying, right? And then all of a sudden he realizes God is in this place. Oh, my Lord. God is in this place. Now, who is this guy? What's the description this guy? He's given a two-word description. Unbeliever and uninformed. So this guy comes in, and then he is witnessing the prophesying that is going on. That's a word for another discussion. And then what happens to this guy when he's convicted in his heart? He falls face down and worships. Well, let me ask you a question. Who is worshiping here? The unbeliever. Not the people prophesying. Y'all with me? And what did the unbeliever do? He was convicted in his heart, and he falls down on his face, and he says, my gosh, God is in this place. Now, are the other people worshiping? No. We would say the other people are worshiping because they're prophesying. That's not what Paul said. I mean, Bev read it. Do you have a real Bible there, Bev, or are you making this up? Bev's got a real Bible. So to make sure Bev's got a real Bible. I know she does because I'm reading it right here. Yeah, so you see what I'm talking about here. Okay. The conclusion of the matter is, worship was a physical act, not an emotional act. Had nothing to do with emotions. Remember, we read in Ezekiel, okay, Tim, bring in your sacrifice, boom, give it to the priest, bow down and go. We're hurrying up here. We ain't got time. You've made your obligatory thing. Come in, worship, and worship had to do with what? Bringing your sacrifice and bowing before God. So it was not an emotional. And also, it was a type of greeting, and it was never intended as a Christian act. Okay, Revelation chapter 19, verse 10. Now, remember I said a minute ago about order and rank.
And I fell at his feet to worship
Now wait a minute. So on one sense, we're talking about, okay, we shake hands because, I'm not going to come in and say, I'm going to bow down at Jeff's feet and say, oh, you're better than me. Well, this was the idea that John got. John meets a guy and he falls at his feet as dead, which is an act of what? Worship. Go ahead.
And he said unto me, see thou do it not.
Okay, stop. So he goes to bow down before the guy. And what's the guy say? Don't do it. Don't do it. But yet Paul writes, we read in Philippians, consider others better than yourself. I don't know, guys. If you got all this figured out, then you're greater than me. Do you not see the tension here? Okay, Revelation 22, verse 8 and 9.
And I, John, saw these things and heard them. And when I heard them and seen, I fell down to worship before the feet of the angel which showed me these things. Then said he unto me, see thou do it not.
Okay, stop right there. So what did John do? John sees these things and he falls down on his face to do what? To worship. And what's the angel say? Don't do it. Okay. John chapter 4, verse 20. Looking at these verses. So every time we look at these words, what do we see? A bowing down. Over and over and over, right? A bowing down. So again, worship at 11. This is unbiblical. Unless everybody's going to come into the church, bring a sacrifice. John chapter 4, verse 20. Okay, stop right there. He's come to the well. What town's he in? He's in Samaria. I told you guys, one of the Bibles that we got comes from Samaria. Now, let's talk about this. Why is this so significant? What does this represent here? Again, culture. But here's what I'm saying. Israel was one nation, right? What happened after Solomon's son, after Solomon died? Division. So Israel is split. You've got Judah in the south, them in the north, right? And they don't like each other. There's two denominations. We started out, we got two denominations. They fought against each other. The northern tribes, Amos is sent to them. Many other of the prophets are sent to them to call them back, and they didn't do it. So they go away into captivity, Assyrian captivity. Some of them has came back. So you've got a mix mash of stuff here. Now, when they went away, Jeroboam said, look, we need to set up some new worship up here, so that everybody don't go back to Jerusalem to worship. So we set up golden calves at Dan and Bethel. Why did he do that? So that the people would come and worship there instead of going to Jerusalem to worship at Jerusalem. Now, what were they going to come there to do? To bring a sacrifice, fall on their face. So we need an idol. We need to do that. Now, they set this up at Mount Gershom. Okay, go back and read your biblical history, what happened at Mount Gershom. Okay, I'm not going to tell you that. You can go look it up. Okay, so now Jesus is in this land of Samaria, which used to be the northern tribes. The southern tribes, they hated each other so bad they wouldn't even go through Samaria. They would go around Samaria because they hated those people. Both of them hated each other. And there's an argument about worship. And right there on Mount Gershom is the temples that Jeroboam had set up. So the woman is asking the question, where do we worship? Now go ahead and read.
And ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship.
So the contention is, do we worship here where our fathers, referring back to Jeroboam, set up, right there, or do we go down to Jerusalem? Now, in any case, what's the worship going to be? The worship is going to be bringing your sacrifice and giving your sacrifice to the priest and bowing down before God. Right? So you're going to come in, you're going to give your stuff. Neil's the priest, I'm coming in, I'm giving Neil my lamb, my whatever. Boom, I give it to him. I bow down. Boom, I move on. Next person comes up. So where do we worship? Okay, so, and what is Jesus' response? Well, first he says, true worship, or the worship, he was set up in Jerusalem. We know this. You guys got it wrong. You was never supposed to go to Jerusalem, or never supposed to go to Mount Gershom to worship. It's of the Jews. They got it right, the place. But now the time is coming, and now is when the true worshiper. Now what is worship all along? Worship is prostrating yourself, bringing your gift. Jesus says when the real worshiper will prostrate themselves in what? Spirit and in truth. So now again, if we are going to be a biblical new covenant church of worship, then whenever you come together out here to worship, then you bring your gift. Right? I mean, are you with me, guys, here? I feel like this is not me doing a monologue so that you can hear me. When we come to worship, worship always means everybody brings something. You with me here? You guys ain't with me. You guys ain't with me. Huh? I know, but when we gather out here, we gather out to edify one another, not me standing up here giving to you. We all come so that we can edify one another. If we're going to edify one another, we bring our best. So I'm not coming here so that I can be filled. We are coming to give what we've got to, and this is everyone. Because, guys, whether you know it or not, everyone is required to come and worship. And the scripture says, I'll give you the verse here. Deuteronomy 16. Somebody give me Deuteronomy 16 and 17. Deuteronomy 16 and 17. Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 16 and 17.
All your males are to appear 3 times a year before the Lord your God in the place that he chooses, at the festival of unleavened bread, the festival of weeks, and the festival of...
Stop right there. So 3 times a year, all the guys, it's not good advice, are required to come to Jerusalem for the feast of Passover, feast of Pentecost, the feast of Tabernacles. Right? Y'all with me? Deuteronomy. Okay, keep going, Ben.
No one is to appear before the Lord empty.
Okay, stop right there. What did he say? They're coming to worship. don't you come empty-handed. Is this not just daggone opposite of everything we've thought about worship? Nothing in my hand I bring, simply to the cross I cling. What song is that? Rock of Ages.
Could be one of many.
Yeah. And what is God's instruction? Don't come empty-handed. And you're going to come to worship, and I mean you can go on there. Okay. In John chapter 2, John's Gospel chapter 2, verse 13 and 14. Who's got that? We got a lot of Bible verses, ain't we? And the next verse will be Exodus 20, verse 5. Go ahead. Now, time out a second. Passover was near. We just read, who's supposed to be there at Passover? All of them, yeah, all the guys are supposed to be there. All the guys are supposed to be there. So there's going to be a big crowd. And, what else? Don't come empty-handed. Okay, Bev, keep going. Okay, stop right there. Why are they selling oxen, sheep, and dove in the temple? Why? The people came empty-handed. Because there's a business down here. I don't really have to obey the Lord. It's kind of hard carrying all these pigeons for 40 miles and walking. I can just go down to the temple. I can just go in there and buy me some turtle doves and oxen and whatever so that I can perform my what? My worship. And what does Jesus say? No. He overthrows all of that. All of y'all messed it up. You guys aren't obeying God. You came empty-handed. They're making a business. They're making merchandise out of it. You guys have missed the whole daggone thing. Does this make sense now of what is going on? Exodus 20 and verse 5. Okay, stop right there. This is commandment number 2. Commandment number 2 is don't go worship other gods. Now, what does that mean? That means don't go over there into the temple of Baal, bring your sacrifice to Baal, and prostrate yourself out before Baal. Don't do that. Why? Because God is a jealous God, right? So now you understand here what's going on. Deuteronomy chapter 8 verse 19, and then somebody get Matthew chapter 4 verse 10. $19. Okay, that's good, Bev. I'm just looking for that. So if you ever want to worship and bow down, to bow down. So again, worship over and over and over, guys, is bow down, right? Bow down, bow down. How did worship become what it is in the modern church? When over and over and over and over and over, we're seeing this same picture. What do you got? Matthew 4:10? Who's got Matthew 4:10? Again, remember Jesus is being tempted, and you remember what the devil says? If you will bow down, and Jesus is quoting back over in Exodus, we're not going to bow down to you, God, but he adds the word serve. Worship and serve. Okay. You know, today even when you go visit somebody, and it's been a kind of a long-standing thing. Somebody invites you over for dinner. You bring a gift, right? I mean, that's just kind of, you bring a gift. Somebody invites you over, you bring a gift. I mean, you go. Or maybe they said no, but or maybe your gift is you made some blueberry cobbler or whatever, but you just didn't want to come empty-handed, right? You didn't want to come empty-handed. So you brought a gift. And this gift, even in itself, is saying, oh, I adore you. I'm considering you better than me, and I thank you so much for you. You understand all of this ideology that's going into this. Now, let me read this one. Romans. Now, this is where we started out here. I'm just going to read this out of the King James, Romans chapter 12. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, to keep in mind everything we've talked about, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice. So what is he saying here? Paul is using this language, and he's using this temple worship language. I beseech you, brethren, that you present your bodies as a living sacrifice. In other words, how did I come before? I had to bring my turtle dove. I had to bring my lamb, right? Or my oxen. But now Paul says, hey, you're the sacrifice. You're it now. Now come and present yourselves as a living sacrifice to who? Now again, where are we going to do worship at? I mean, we're going to do worship. We got a sacrifice. We got an altar. We got a priest. We got a temple. Right? So where is all this going to take place? All of this is not going to take place down at Jerusalem. It's going to take place as you and I present our bodies as we serve one another. Are y'all with me here? So our worship, acted out, is as we serve one another. It's got nothing to do with up here. And this is why Paul, now listen to what he says here. Present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is, in the other translations, your spiritual worship. Which is your worship. So worship at 11 is not us singing to the front of the church. Worship at 11 would really be me presenting myself to you in service to you, because as I've done it unto you, I've done it unto the Lord. So he's brought worship out of the temple, out of what we do on Saturday, and made it into how you and I treat each other. Okay? Which is your reasonable service. You remember Paul also, right? I didn't come in demonstration of these high words and all that, but in demonstration of power and of spirit. In other words, he demonstrated the cross. He demonstrated how to live this life. Paul is saying the same thing here in Romans 12. This is how we worship. We don't go over there to the temple anymore. Our true worship really is how you and I treat one another. That's our true worship. Am I making sense here? Yeah. And then I'm not doing it in vain. It's from the heart in spirit and in truth that I'm really, if how we do when somebody says, hey, we're going to take up some clothes to feed the poor. What's that mean? Go home and get all your junk and bring it to give to the poor. And real worship means, oh no. I want to give them my best. Are y'all with me? Okay. Now, Psalm chapter 51. Psalm chapter 51. Let me go over here to Psalm 51. I hope this isn't boring to you guys. Psalm 51, okay. I'm reading, I'm looking for this verse. I know it's in Psalm. Okay. Verse 15, O Lord, open thou my lips, and my mouth shall show forth thy praise. For thou desirest not sacrifice. Wait a minute. We've been talking all along about sacrifice. You didn't really desire sacrifice. Else I would give it. Thou delightest not in burnt offerings. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit and a broken and contrite heart. Oh my goodness. Again, this brings you into this whole, if you guys don't see the tension in all this, wait a minute, it's this, wait a minute, it's that, wait a minute, it's this, yeah, there's a lot going on here, right? This is David writing this psalm after he's had his affair with Bathsheba. Got her pregnant, had her husband killed. But he's a man after God's own heart. He's a scoundrel. I mean, honestly, we got to say it. David's a scoundrel. He wasn't doing, we just kind of give him a pat. Well, he's a man after God's own heart, so it's all right to have people killed and sleep with their wives. We better back up. Now, I'm going to get ready to close this out here, but I just got a couple more things here for you real quick. Now, you wonder why we're kind of doing it this way. Who is the book of Hebrews written to? Hebrews. The book of Hebrews is written to Hebrews. Are the Hebrew people Gentile or Jewish? They're Jewish. So the Jewish people had been brought up in this kind of worship, right? In all of this temple stuff. They're versed in it. It's their culture, right? So their ideal of worship was what? Go to the temple 3 times a year, bring your sacrifice. Okay, go up, give it to the priest, bow down, and go on, do all of that other stuff. Doing that over and 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 over. Boom. Now this Hebrew writer says this. Let me find it. Okay, Hebrews chapter 5, verse 11. Or verse 12. Well, we'll read verse 11. Of whom we have many things to say and hard to be uttered, seeing that you are dull of hearing. They've been going to the temple and doing worship for 2,000 years. For when the time you ought to be teachers, you need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God, and are become such as need of milk and not of strong meat. So they've been doing the temple style of worship and service for 1,500 years, and the end result is they're babies. We have done church exactly in the style of temple worship since 300 AD. Why would we expect a different result? Right? They should have been, but Paul himself said that he was a child. But when he became a man, He put away childish things. What do you think Paul meant? Do you think Paul meant I quit playing with Batman and Robins? What was the childish things he put away? Huh? All of that temple kind of setting. He put all of that away. Are you with me here? Okay. Now, Ephesians chapter 4. And he gave some apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastor teachers. I told you that was one word. So that we could have better worship services on Sunday. I mean, he should say so that we would have better worship services on Sunday, but it doesn't say that. For the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body. Till we all come in the unity of the faith, growing up into the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. Okay, Galatians, I'm almost done here. Galatians chapter 3. And again, he's talking about the law and all of this other stuff. But before faith came, they were kept shut up under the law, shut up into the faith which should afterwards be revealed. So they were kept under this whole system of worship and service and ministry. They were kept under it, and it was called a schoolmaster to lead them to Christ. Now, chapter 4, verse 1. Now I say this, that the heir, as long as he is a child, differeth nothing from a servant, though he be Lord of all. What are we talking about here? But is under tutors, governors, until the time appointed unto the Father. Okay? We just read over there in Hebrews, you guys ought to be teachers by now. But you're not. So if you're a child, you differ nothing than the servant, than the slave, than the bondservant. You shouldn't be bondservants. You should be teachers. And why do we need teachers? For the edifying of the body, so that we can all grow up and we can understand how to do this thing. But we don't have that because we are recreating temple every Sunday. And what we have ought to done was seen what temple was pointing to. Now, I'm going to close with this one right here. Somebody give me Psalm 99. I'm going to say it's verse 3. I don't know. I'm guessing. Psalm chapter 99. Before it's even read, let me ask you this. What does God love? Okay? What does God love? We got one over here, a cheerful giver. Anybody else? Because listen, if we're going to love God and worship God and serve God and all of these things, shouldn't we know what God places above all things? Wouldn't that be? So do you want to rephrase your answer? Or are you sticking with it? You're going to stick with a cheerful giver. Anybody else? Huh? What? God first loved us. Okay. Anybody else? What does God place up here? I mean, we should know this, right? God so loved the world? Okay. Does somebody have Psalm 99? Start in verse 1. Start in verse 1. Bev's going to read this. Okay, the Lord reigns. So the Lord is to be worshiped. Okay. Okay, now wait a minute. This is Psalm 99. Is this still true? Should the people tremble? Is God a nice uncle? Paul would even write, let us work out our salvation how? With fear and trembling. I'm trying to bring us into some awe here. So let the people tremble. Psalm 99. Go ahead, Bev. He's enthroned above the Sennacheribs. Keep going. Let the earth quake. Yahweh is great in Zion. We're going to have to look at the difference between Zion and Sinai. We got to look at the difference. Not today, though. Go ahead. I mean, this is some pretty haughty, lofty stuff, right? Go ahead.
Let them praise your great and awe-inspiring name. He is holy.
Uh-huh.
The mighty King loves justice.
Oh, stop right there. We have just spent 5 verses telling you how mighty this king is, and what does this king love above all? Wow. Right there it is. I didn't read it because I didn't want y'all to think I was making it up. Psalm 99. This king loves justice. And when justice is not happening in our world, this mighty king roars like a lion from Zion. And I would ask the question, is justice happening in our society? If you guys think it is, then good for you. We say no. I mean, right there. So this ought to stir us again, because we don't even know what we're doing. We don't even know what worship is. We just go to church and all this, and so we have just talked all day about worshiping God and worshiping what worship is, and then Psalm 99 is telling us this king is above all kings and he sits on the earth and all of this other stuff, and then we find out the number one thing that he is about is justice. Any final thoughts?
Setting things right.
Yeah.
It's the whole goal.
Yeah. Anybody else?
His justice doesn't look like your justice. It's not based on scales of this, and I mean, his justice is mercy.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, I think these are things that we got to look at. I mean, I honestly do. We honestly have to look at what God's justice, what his mercy really looks like. And I will ask you a question. Maybe we'll follow this up next week. Okay. In the Old Testament, they're promised the land, right? But it's contingent on their obedience, right? We know they were disobedient. They end up in Babylon, right? I mean, that's Bible. So we come into the New Testament. We come into the new covenant. And Christ said it's finished and all of the finished work. Does that give us the right now to do whatever we want? You guys say no. But so where does mercy come in? Where does love and justice come in? So if we just say, well, now wait, God is mercy, that means we can do whatever we want. And it doesn't mean that. So we have to really look at it as we looked at worship. Like I said, I hope you guys learned something today about worship. I hope you did.
Not to ask you that question again.
Yeah, not to ask me that question. Yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of things I want to discuss in this, but this is just the beginning. So we'll continue on. So let me, baby, you could, if you